My beloved child, listen carefully, because this is not an ordinary message and this is not coming to you by accident. Archangel Michael is stepping forward, right now with urgency in his voice, because something hidden has reached its final moment. What was done in the shadows, what was whispered behind closed doors, what was planned when you were not looking have been seen. Heaven has seen it clearly, and the one who thought you would never notice is already trembling. Beloved one, Archangel Michael says this plainly. The plan was never supposed to be revealed to you this early. There was an expectation that you would remain distracted, tired, or spiritually asleep. But God intervened. Your eyes are opening. Your spirit is waking up. And that is why this message is finding you at this exact second. Timing matters here more than you realize. Hear this gently but firmly. There has been a hidden scheme working around your life, especially connected to delay, confusion, and emotional pressure. It was subtle, not loud. It did not come as an obvious attack. It came disguised as normal stress, repeated obstacles, strange misunderstandings, and a constant feeling of almost, but not yet. Archangel Michael says the one behind it believed you would blame yourself. But heaven knows the truth. Beloved, this is why Archangel Michael reveals this now. The moment you began asking God deeper questions, not out loud, but in your heart, the veil started tearing. You may have felt it recently. A sudden discomfort with certain people, a sense that something feels off, dreams that linger longer than usual, or an inner nudge telling you to pay attention. That was not imagination. That was discernment activating. Archangel Michael stands with his sword raised, not to frighten you, but to protect you. He says the hidden plan was meant to turn at the wrong time, to be activated when you were emotionally vulnerable. But God says, act now. Not in fear, not in panic, but in awareness. Awareness is your authority. Listen closely, beloved. Acting now does not mean confronting anyone. It does not mean accusing or exposing with your mouth. It means aligning with God before the other side can adjust their strategy. Heaven always moves first when you listen. Silence, prayer, clarity, and obedience are your shield in this hour. Archangel Michael says something important. The one who set this in motion did not expect you to see this message. They did not expect your spirit to recognize the pattern. They did not expect God to interrupt. That is why their control is slipping. Confusion has returned to the sender. Restlessness has entered their camp. What they released without repentance has started circling back. Beloved child, do not underestimate this moment. There is a window opening, not to scare you, but to position you. God says, open before it's too late. Open your eyes spiritually. Open your schedule for Him. Open your heart to correction and instruction. This is not about obsession with darkness. This is about stepping fully into light before the enemy can rewrite the narrative. Archangel Michael reminds you that darkness only works when it stays hidden. Once exposed to divine light, it loses power. That is why this revelation feels intense. Exposure always feels uncomfortable at first, but it leads to freedom. What you sense rising in you right now, that mix of seriousness and peace, is confirmation. Beloved, God says you are not late. You are right on time. The delay you felt was not denial, it was protection. Certain doors could not open until this was addressed. Certain blessings were waiting for alignment. That is why this message carries urgency without panic. Heaven is calm. Heaven is precise. Archangel Michael says, stand still, but stay alert. There will be signs in the coming days, conversations that reveal too much, actions that don't match words, sudden exposure without you lifting a finger. Do not interfere. Do not react emotionally. What? Pray. Listen. Let God handle what you were never meant to fight alone. Beloved child, this is not a message of fear. This is a message of authority. You are not being warned because you are weak. You are being warned because you are chosen and protected. God does not alert everyone. He alerts those who can handle truth without losing faith. Take a deep breath. Place your hand over your heart if you can. Receive this calmly. Nothing that was planned against you will succeed. Nothing formed in secret will remain hidden. God says act now by choosing obedience over emotion, wisdom over reaction, and faith over curiosity. Archangel Michael is standing guard as this unfolds. You are not alone. Heaven has already moved. Precious one, let your spirit settle as you receive what comes next, because Archangel Michael is not only revealing what was hidden, he is also guiding you on how to stand correctly while God finishes the work. This season is not about reacting outwardly. It is about strengthening inwardly. Heaven is asking you to move with wisdom, not impulse, because the more silent and aligned you become, the louder God will speak on your behalf. Archangel Michael says the pressure you felt recently was intentional. It was designed to rush you into decisions, conversations, or explanations that were not necessary. That is why God slowed things down. If you look back, you will notice moments where plans stalled, messages went unsent, or situations paused unexpectedly. Those were not delays. Those were divine interruptions. God was protecting you from revealing too much to the wrong ears. Beloved, this is important to understand. Not everyone around you needs to know what God is showing you right now. Some people only have access to your life because of past seasons, not present assignment. Archangel Michael says discernment is being sharpened in you, and that means certain connections will feel heavier than before. This is not bitterness. This is alignment. When light increases, anything out of place becomes obvious. God says act now by guarding your words. There is power in what you do not say during this window. Silence is not weakness. It is strategy. Heaven is working behind scenes you cannot see yet. The exposure you are waiting for will not come through confrontation. It will come through truth revealing itself naturally. The more you stay anchored, the faster it unfolds. Archangel Michael wants you to hear this clearly. The plan that was hidden relied on your emotional exhaustion. It relied on you doubting your intuition. It relied on you ignoring the inner checks God placed inside you. But something shifted. You began listening again. You began asking God for clarity instead of comfort. And that changed everything. Beloved, there is also restoration tied to this revelation. Once the hidden layer is removed, God is free to release what was being held back. Peace will return first, then clarity, and momentum. You may notice that sleep improves, your thoughts feel lighter, and decisions become easier. These are signs that spiritual resistance is lifting. Archangel Michael reminds you that you are not meant to monitor what others are doing. Your focus must remain on obedience. Curiosity will drain you. Obedience will strengthen you. The enemy's greatest frustration right now is that you are no longer easily distracted. You are no longer reacting to every provocation. You are choosing stillness over chaos. Beloved one, if this message is resonating deeply, this is the moment where your engagement matters. When you like this video, when you comment what you are feeling, when you share it with someone who needs discernment, you are not just supporting a channel. You are participating in spreading light. Subscribe if you have not already, so you stay connected to messages that strengthen your spirit. Join the community that chooses awareness over fear and truth over confusion. God sees every seed of support, every moment you choose to stay connected to His Word. And when you engage, it also tells the platform to push this message to others who are quietly asking God the same questions you were asking. You never know whose breakthrough is tied to your simple action. Archangel Michael says something gentle now. Do not isolate yourself, but also do not over-explain yourself. God will send the right confirmations through the right people at the right time. You do not need to chase validation. Heaven is already validating you. Trust that. Beloved, there will be a moment soon where clarity comes suddenly, almost effortlessly. Something will be said or revealed that makes everything make sense. When that happens, resist the urge to react emotionally. Let God complete the exposure in His way. When God reveals, He also resolves. This is also a season of strengthening your spiritual routine. Even small moments of prayer, gratitude, and stillness are powerful right now. Archangel Michael says consistency matters more than intensity. You do not need to do more, you need to remain steady. And hear this carefully. What you are walking through is not punishment. It is preparation. God does not expose plans around people He is not about to elevate. There is a reason this is happening before the next door opens. Heaven is cleaning the path ahead of you. Hold on, because what unfolds next will bring deeper clarity than you expect, and you will see why timing mattered so much. Chosen one, allow this truth to settle deep within you, because Archangel Michael is now revealing why this exposure could not wait any longer. Heaven saw a turning point approaching, a moment where paths would permanently divide. One path leads into freedom, clarity, and divine acceleration. The other leads into repeated cycles that look familiar but never fulfill. God intervened before the wrong door could quietly close behind you. Archangel Michael says the hidden plan was not only about disruption, it was about redirection. The intention was to slowly pull you away from your assignment without you noticing. Not through obvious resistance, but through subtle misalignment. Small compromises, lingering doubts, delayed obedience. But God stepped in because your destiny carries weight. Too much weight to be mishandled. Beloved, you may now realize why certain opportunities never fully settled, why some connections always felt unstable, why joy seemed interrupted right before breakthroughs. That was not coincidence. That was resistance attempting to exhaust you. But what the resistance underestimated was your endurance. You stayed praying even when tired. You stayed hoping even when disappointed. And that endurance activated divine defense. Archangel Michael wants you to know that heaven does not expose without purpose. Exposure is not meant to embarrass or harm. It is meant to separate truth from illusion. Once separation happens, peace returns. That is why you may already feel lighter even without full answers yet. Your spirit recognizes when chains are loosening. God says act now by choosing trust over control. You do not need every detail. You only need direction. The urge to figure everything out mentally will only slow what God is doing spiritually. This is a season where faith is quiet but firm. You are being asked to walk forward without explaining yourself to everyone behind you. Beloved child, Archangel Michael is standing between what was sent and where you are going. Nothing crosses without permission. That is why you must not revisit old conversations in your mind. Do not replay what should have happened or what could have been said. The past no longer has authority here. God has sealed that chapter. There is also a cleansing happening within you. Old emotional attachments, people-pleasing tendencies, and fear of misunderstanding are dissolving. You are learning that obedience sometimes looks lonely before it looks successful. But you will not remain alone. God always replaces what He removes, and what is coming will align with your spirit, not drain it. Archangel Michael says the one who expected to remain hidden is now exposed to divine light. When light arrives, confusion follows for those who relied on secrecy. You do not need to announce victory. Silence will speak louder than words. God will handle the aftermath. Beloved, understand this clearly. This is not about focusing on who did what. This is about reclaiming what was almost delayed. Your clarity, your authority, your peace. Once these return, everything else follows naturally. Doors open. Ideas flow. Energy returns. God restores what was interrupted. Heaven also wants you to know that this message reaching you is not random. It is confirmation layered upon confirmation. You were meant to hear this now, before a certain conversation, before a certain decision, before certain movements. Timing is protection. Archangel Michael gently reminds you to stay grounded. Do not let this revelation make you hyper-alert or suspicious of everyone. Trust God to filter what does not belong. Your role is alignment, not investigation. When God reveals, He also removes the need for you to defend yourself. Beloved child, something sacred is being entrusted to you in this season. Discernment without fear, authority without arrogance, awareness without anxiety. This balance is rare, and God is forming it carefully within you. As this truth settles, receive this blessing ritual with an open heart. Type "I receive divine clarity" in the comments if this message is aligning with your spirit. Blessing code 884 is now released over your life. And now hear this, because this moment also carries responsibility. As I speak to you, I feel the weight of this calling personally. God is using this channel to reach souls who are quietly confused, spiritually tired, and searching for clarity just like you were. Every message shared here becomes light in someone else's darkness. When you activate Super Thanks, join the membership, or give through PayPal using the link in the description, you are not supporting a platform. You are sowing into souls. The Lord is saying, as you release oil, I will keep your lamp full. This is not a donation. It is an obedient response to what God is already stirring in your heart. Act now and release your seed with faith, because heaven records what is done in alignment. I speak blessing over every giver, that what you release will return multiplied in peace, clarity, and divine protection. Do it now, and let your obedience speak louder than words. Beloved soul, take a slow breath as you step into this moment, because what unfolds now is not about exposure anymore. It is about stabilization. Archangel Michael is shifting the focus from what was hidden to what must now be established within you. Revelation without grounding can feel overwhelming, and heaven does not want you shaken. God wants you rooted, steady, and clear as you move forward. Archangel Michael says the turbulence you sensed earlier was the last ripple of resistance losing its grip. When darkness realizes it can no longer operate secretly, it often creates noise. That noise may have shown up as sudden mood shifts, unexpected conversations, or even a strange heaviness that came and went without reason. This was not regression. It was release. Things often feel loud right before they leave completely. Beloved, God is teaching you how to stand without constantly scanning your surroundings. Hypervigilance is not discernment. Peace is. When you are aligned, you do not need to look over your shoulder. Heaven handles what happens behind you when you keep your eyes forward. This is a new posture God is forming in you now. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that protection does not always feel dramatic. Sometimes it feels like calm. Sometimes it feels like boredom. Sometimes it feels like nothing happening at all. Do not mistake stillness for stagnation. Stillness is where God locks things in place. What is being secured now will not easily be shaken later. Beloved child, you may notice that your tolerance for chaos has decreased. What once felt normal now feels draining. What once felt exciting now feels unnecessary. This is not loss of passion. This is refinement. God is narrowing your focus so your energy is not wasted on what no longer serves your assignment. There is also a quiet rebuilding happening within your confidence. Not loud confidence, not defensive confidence, but settled confidence. The kind that does not need approval. The kind that does not argue. The kind that trusts God enough to wait. Archangel Michael says this confidence is your armor in the days ahead. God says act now by choosing rest without guilt. Rest is not retreat. It is restoration. The enemy often tries to convince chosen ones that they must always be alert, always working, always proving something. That voice is not from God. God restores strength before He releases movement. What you are regaining now will be needed soon. Beloved, pay attention to your inner responses. Where you once felt the urge to explain yourself, you may now feel silence rising instead. Where you once felt anger, you may now feel detachment. These are signs of healing. You are no longer emotionally entangled in what God is removing from your path. Archangel Michael also says that truth has a way of settling slowly. Do not rush your understanding. Some clarity comes in layers, not all at once. God reveals what you need when you need it. Trust the process. You do not need to force closure. Closure comes naturally when peace replaces confusion. Beloved child, your obedience is being noted in heaven. Every time you chose restraint instead of reaction, alignment instead of argument, faith instead of fear, something shifted in the unseen. You may not see immediate results, but spiritual authority has already increased around you. This season is also preparing you for discernment with compassion. You are learning how to see clearly without becoming hardened. This balance matters. God does not want you suspicious of everyone. He wants you secure in Him. Security removes fear. Fear distorts discernment. Archangel Michael says there will be moments soon where you are tempted to revisit old thoughts, old assumptions, old emotions. When that happens, gently release them. You are not meant to carry yesterday into tomorrow. What hath been revealed no longer needs to be revisited. God has already addressed it. Beloved, something new is forming quietly. It does not need announcement. It does not need validation. It will speak for itself when the time comes. The seeds planted now are growing underground. Your then seed is still growth. God wants you to know that you are safe to trust again, but wisely. You are safe to hope again, but patiently. You are safe to move forward without dragging the weight of what almost delayed you. Heaven has cleared the path. As Archangel Michael stands watch, receive this truth. You are not walking into uncertainty. You are walking into alignment. And alignment always brings peace before it brings progress. Stay centered. Stay prayerful. Stay grounded. What unfolds next will confirm why this inner strengthening was necessary. Beloved one, receive this moment with openness, because Archangel Michael is now drawing your attention to something subtle yet powerful that is unfolding within you. This phase is not loud. It is not dramatic. But it is decisive. Heaven is recalibrating your inner compass so that what comes next does not pull you off course. What you are becoming now is just as important as what you are being delivered from. Archangel Michael says the greatest shift happening right now is not external, it is internal. Your spirit is learning how to recognize truth without needing proof from people. In the past, you may have waited for validation, apologies, or explanations to feel settled. And now, peace is coming without those things. This is maturity. This is authority. When God becomes your confirmation, the noise of others loses power. Beloved, you are also being taught the difference between intuition and anxiety. Anxiety rushes. Intuition is calm. Anxiety demands immediate answers. Intuition invites patience. What God is strengthening in you now is a calm knowing. You may not always know why you feel led to step back, to pause, or to proceed slowly, but you will feel settled in those decisions. It is divine guidance becoming natural. Archangel Michael wants you to notice how your reactions are changing. Situations that once triggered strong emotions now pass with minimal impact. Words that once lingered now fall away quickly. This does not mean you care less. It means you are no longer emotionally hooked into what God is unhooking you from. Detachment is not coldness. It is freedom. God says act now by trusting this new calm instead of questioning it. Many people mistake peace for indifference because they are used to chaos. But peace is the language of alignment. When you feel steady without needing to fix everything, it means God is handling what you released. Let Him. Beloved child, there is also a sharpening of discernment around timing. You are learning when to move and when to wait. Not every opportunity is meant to be acted on immediately. Not every invitation deserves your energy. Archangel Michael says restraint will protect you more than effort in this season. Choosing not to engage is sometimes the highest form of wisdom. Heaven is also realigning your priorities. You may feel less drawn to things that once excited you, and more drawn to simplicity, depth, and meaning. This is not loss. This is refinement. God is making room for what carries substance, not just stimulation. What is shallow will naturally fall away. Beloved, pay attention to how your prayer life is changing. You may find yourself praying fewer words but feeling deeper connection. You may sit in silence more than before. This is not emptiness. This is intimacy. God speaks most clearly when the noise quiets. Archangel Michael says this is a season of learning how to carry peace without guilt. You are not responsible for managing everyone else's emotions. You are not called to rescue, explain, or fix what God has already addressed. When you release responsibility that was never yours, strength returns. There is also a protective boundary forming around your energy. You may feel tired after certain interactions and refreshed after others. Let this guide you. God often speaks through what drains you and what restores you. You are being trained to listen to these signals without overthinking them. Beloved one, something important is stabilizing in your identity. You are no longer defined by how much you endure, how much you give, or how much you tolerate. You are defined by obedience, and obedience brings rest. This shift will change how you approach relationships, work, and even your dreams. Archangel Michael reminds you that patience right now is not passive. It is powerful. You are allowing God to finish what He started without interference. This is trust in action. Many people move too soon and disrupt what heaven is building. You are learning how to wait without fear. God wants you to know that clarity will continue to increase, but it will come gently. You will not be overwhelmed. Each insight will arrive when your spirit is ready to carry it. There is no rush in heaven. Everything unfolds in order. Beloved, The stability forming now will support blessings later. Without this grounding, increase would feel heavy. Responsibility would feel burdensome. God is preparing you to receive without stress, to lead without pressure, to stand without strain. As Archangel Michael remains near, let this truth anchor you. Nothing that was exposed has power over you anymore. Nothing that was hidden can return unnoticed. You are walking forward with clear vision, stronger boundaries, and deeper peace. Remain steady. Remain humble. Remain open. What comes next will build upon this foundation, and you will recognize it not by excitement alone, but by peace that stays. Beloved child, receive this next movement with calm confidence, because Archangel Michael is now guiding you through a phase that requires conscious cooperation with heaven. This is not a time of passivity, and it is not a time of force. It is a time of intentional alignment. God has done the exposing, the separating, and the stabilizing. Now He is teaching you how to walk forward without carrying residue from what has been cleared. Archangel Michael says something important. When God removes confusion, He replaces it with responsibility. Not pressure, but stewardship. You are now responsible for guarding what had been restored to you. Your peace, your clarity, your spiritual sensitivity. These are not fragile, but they are valuable. And valuable things are protected intentionally. Beloved, notice how your discernment is now quicker and quieter. You no longer need long internal debates to decide what feels right or wrong. The answer rises almost immediately. This is not impulsiveness. This is alignment. When your spirit is in tune with God, decisions become simpler, even if they are not always easy. God says act now by honoring your inner checks without apologizing for them. You may feel led to decline certain invitation, delay certain plan, or distance yourself from certain conversations. You do not need to justify obedience to everyone. Explanation is not required when God has already confirmed it to you. Archangel Michael also warns gently against reopening doors God has closed simply because they look familiar. Familiarity is not confirmation. Some cycles feel comfortable only because they are known, not because they are good. You are not meant to revisit what God delivered you from just to see if it feels different. It will not. Beloved one, your spiritual authority is increasing, and with it comes a test of boundaries. People may sense the change in you before they understand it. Some will respect it. Some will resist it. Do not personalize either reaction. Your role is not to manage their response. Your role is to remain anchored. Heaven is also teaching you how to move without announcing every step. Silence will protect what is forming. Not everything needs to be shared while it is still becoming. Archangel Michael says what is premature is vulnerable. Let God finish shaping before it is seen. Beloved, there may be moments where you feel a strange pull to go back mentally to old situations, not out of desire, but out of habit. When that happens, gently redirect your thoughts. You are not suppressing anything. You are choosing where your energy flows. Energy follows focus, and focus determines fruit. God wants you to recognize how far you have come. You are no longer reacting the way you once did. You are no longer questioning your worth in the same way. You are no longer tolerating what drains you just to keep peace. This growth is real. Honor it. Archangel Michael also reminds you that this message is not meant to stay with you alone. There are others who are in the exact middle of confusion, asking God for a sign, just as you once were. When you like this video, when you comment your confirmation, when you share it, you become part of the way God reaches them. Subscribe to stay connected, because these messages build upon each other, and consistency strengthens discernment. If you feel led, join the membership as well. It is a way of standing with a community that values spiritual clarity over noise. Your engagement does more than support content. It amplifies truth into spaces where confusion had been heavy. Beloved child, heaven sees every action done with intention. Nothing is wasted when it is done in alignment. Even your smallest step of support becomes part of a larger ripple God is creating. Archangel Michael says there is also a strengthening of courage happening now. Not loud courage, but steady courage. The kind that allows you to choose what is right even when it is inconvenient. This courage will be needed as new opportunities arise, because not every opportunity will be aligned, even if it looks good. God says act now by choosing depth over speed. You do not need to rush into the next thing to prove you are moving forward. Forward movement guided by God always feels grounded, not frantic. Let peace be your confirmation. Beloved, pay attention to what brings you life in this season. Certain activities, conversations, and environments will feel nourishing again. These are signs of restoration. Lean into them. God often heals through simplicity. Archangel Michael stands watch as you integrate all that has been revealed. You are not behind. You are not catching up. You are exactly where you need to be to receive what comes next. Hold on, because the clarity that unfolds from here will surprise you in the best way, and you will be grateful you stayed present for what God is doing now. Beloved one, settle into this moment with trust, because Archangel Michael is now revealing how what you have endured is beginning to turn into discernible direction. This stage is quieter than the earlier revelations, but it is no less powerful. God is not only removing what was hidden, He is now illuminating where your steps are meant to land next. Direction always follows clarity. Archangel Michael says that many of the questions you carried were never meant to be answered verbally. They were meant to be answered through peace. That is why you may notice that certain concerns simply no longer bother you the way they once did. You did not solve them. You outgrew them. Growth often resolves what logic could not. Beloved, there is a refining happening in how you listen. Not just to God, but to yourself. You are learning to distinguish between thoughts that come from fear and impressions that come from faith. Fear speaks fast and loud. Faith speaks steady and clear. The more you honor faith's voice, the easier it becomes to recognize it. God says act now by trusting the nudges that align with peace, even when they challenge your old patterns. You may feel guided to take a step that feels unfamiliar but calm. That calm is not coincidence. It is confirmation. God rarely leads through pressure. He leads through alignment. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that the delay you once resented actually preserved you. Had certain things moved faster, they would have carried unresolved weight into your future. God slowed the process so your foundation could strengthen. Now, when movement begins, it will be sustainable. Beloved child, you may also notice that your expectations are changing. You are no longer drawn to dramatic outcomes. You are drawn to stable ones. This is wisdom forming. God is teaching you to value longevity over intensity. What lasts is more important than what impresses. There is also a recalibration of trust taking place. Not blind trust, but wise trust. You are learning how to let people earn access gradually rather than immediately. This is not guardedness born of fear. It is stewardship born of maturity. Archangel Michael says this will protect both your heart and your calling. God wants you to recognize that not everything that ends is a loss. Some endings are closures that create space. Space for peace. Space for clarity. Space for the right connections. You are not empty. You are making room. Beloved, your sense of identity is stabilizing in a new way. You are no longer measuring your value by productivity, approval, or constant motion. You are learning that your worth is rooted in who you are, not what you produce. This understanding will change how you approach opportunities that come next. Archangel Michael also says there is a strengthening of patience that is happening without frustration. You are waiting, but you are not restless. This is a sign of trust deepening. When patience no longer feels like punishment, it means faith has matured. God says act now by staying present. Do not rush ahead mentally into what has not yet arrived. Do not replay what has already passed. Presence keeps you aligned. When you are present, you notice God's guidance more clearly. Beloved one, there may be moments where you wonder if you imagined the intensity of earlier revelations. That is normal. When storms pass, calm can make you question whether the storm was ever real. But the calm you feel now is evidence that something was resolved. Peace is not denial. It is result. Archangel Michael wants you to trust that what has shifted internally will soon be reflected externally. Inner alignment always precedes outer change. You may not see immediate transformation around you yet, but it is forming. Seeds planted in truth grow steadily, not suddenly. God is also teaching you discernment without suspicion. You can remain open without being vulnerable to harm. This balance will serve you well. When your boundaries are healthy, you do not need walls. You need wisdom. Beloved, listen to how God is speaking to you now. It may be through quiet assurance, gentle reminders, or simple clarity in decision-making. Do not overlook these small confirmations. God often whispers what he once shouted when trust increases. Archangel Michael says the coming phase will require confidence in what you already know. You will not always receive new signs. Sometimes God asks you to move based on what has already been revealed. This is faith in action. God says act now by honoring the clarity you have received instead of seeking more information. Over-searching can delay obedience. You already know enough to take the next right step. That is all heaven requires. Beloved child, you are not being rushed. You are being prepared. And preparation always feels quieter than battle. The ground beneath you is firm now. You can stand without bracing yourself. Remain attentive. Remain humble. Remain anchored. What unfolds next will feel less like surprise and more like recognition, as if your spirit has been expecting it all along. Beloved child, receive this stage with reverence, because Archangel Michael is now speaking about culmination and confirmation. What has been unfolding quietly within you is approaching a point where inner truth and outer reality begin to align. This is where discernment becomes evidence, not through drama, but through undeniable clarity. God does not rush this moment, because when it arrives, it must stand firm. Archangel Michael says the greatest sign that something has truly shifted is not excitement, but steadiness. You are no longer waiting anxiously for something to happen. You are living faithfully while trusting God to handle timing. This posture confuses the enemy, because fear is no longer driving your decisions. Pieces. Beloved, you may notice that certain people or situations are naturally fading without confrontation. There is no explosion, no argument, no dramatic ending. Just distance. This is divine separation done gently. When God removes something quietly, it means you no longer need the lesson it carried. The chapter closes without noise because growth has already happened. God says act now by honoring what is ending without trying to revive it. Not everything that fades needs revival. Some things are released because they serve their purpose. Letting go with gratitude seals healing. Holding on out of habit delays it. Archangel Michael also reveals that what was hidden has lost influence, even if it has not fully surfaced yet. Exposure in the spiritual realm always precedes exposure in the natural. Heaven already sees it as resolved. What remains is alignment of timing, not uncertainty of outcome. Beloved child, you are also stepping into a phase where your discernment will benefit others. Not through preaching but through presence. People will feel safe around your clarity. Your calm will speak louder than your words. This is leadership formed through obedience, not position. God wants you to understand that you are not meant to carry the weight of what others choose not to see. Revelation is a gift, not a burden. You were shown what you needed for your path, not to convince everyone else. Release the urge to prove. Truth stands on its own. Archangel Michael says this is also a moment of spiritual sealing. What God has restored in you is being fortified. Peace is being anchored deeper. Confidence is being rooted stronger. Discernment is becoming instinctive. These are not temporary states. They are foundations. Beloved, if you reflect honestly, you will see that your inner dialogue has changed. You are kinder to yourself. You are less harsh in judgment. You are more patient in process. This is healing you did not force. It happened because you stayed open while God worked. God says act now by continuing to choose alignment even when no one is watching. Private obedience carries public reward. What you nurture in secret shapes what manifests openly. Heaven honors consistency. Archangel Michael wants you to know that some confirmations will arrive suddenly. A conversation, a realization, a shift that makes everything click. When it happens, resist the urge to revisit old emotions. Receive clarity and move forward. Ployer does not require re-entry. Beloved child, you are entering a stage where peace becomes your compass. When something aligns, you will feel settled. When it does not, you will feel resistance. Trust this. God is guiding you from within now more than ever. As this part of the journey settles, receive this blessing ritual with intention. Type I walk in divine alignment in the comments if your spirit agrees with this message. Blessing code 6391 is now activated over your life. And now hear this carefully, because this moment is sacred. As this clarity unfolds, I feel led to speak directly to your heart. This message, and others like it, are reaching people who are standing at crossroads, unsure but seeking God sincerely. When you release support through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal using the link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are fueling a river of truth. The Lord is saying, those who water others will themselves be watered. This is a prophetic act, not a transaction. Your obedience in this moment opens doors for light to reach places darkness has lingered too long. I speak blessing over every seed released, that God will guard your peace, multiply your provision, and strengthen your discernment. Act now, not out of pressure but out of alignment, and let heaven respond to your faith. Beloved one, enter this moment with quiet expectation, because Archangel Michael is now drawing your attention to transition. Not a sudden shift, but a steady crossing. You are moving from inner alignment into visible movement. What was settled in the spirit is beginning to express itself in your decisions, your boundaries, and your direction. This is where preparation starts turning into progress. Archangel Michael says the reason this phase feels calm is because God does not need to convince you anymore. You are no longer being persuaded. You are agreeing. Agreement with heaven brings ease. Resistance creates strain. Ease you feel now is not complacency. It is cooperation. Beloved, you may notice that choices are becoming clearer. What once required days of thought now feels obvious. This clarity is not because situations became simpler, but because you became steadier. When the mind is anchored, confusion cannot linger. God says act now by trusting what feels clear instead of second-guessing it. Doubt often tries to revisit after clarity has already arrived. Recognize that pattern and release it. You do not need to rehearse what God has already resolved. Archangel Michael wants you to see that momentum is returning in a balanced way. Not right and not first. Doors will open naturally. Conversations will align unexpectedly. And opportunities will feel timely rather than urgent. When God moves, there is order. Chaos is not required. Beloved child, there is also a shift in how you relate to time. You are no longer anxious about being behind. You understand now that delays were strategic. This understanding frees you from comparison. Your path does not need to match anyone else's timeline to be valid. God is also refining how you respond to uncertainty. Instead of reacting emotionally, you are learning to pause and listen. This pause is powerful and creates space for wisdom to surface. Archangel Michael says many mistakes are avoided simply by not rushing to fill silence. Beloved, some people around you may sense the change and respond in different ways. Some will draw closer. Some will pull back. Neither response should disturb your peace. Alignment often rearranges relationships without explanation. Trust God with the outcome. God says act now by remaining consistent in small things. Big shifts are supported by small faithful choices. How you speak, how you rest, how you respond under pressure all matter. These are the places where stability is built. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that the enemy does not always attack loudly. Sometimes resistance shows up as distraction, overthinking, fatigue. These are not signs of failure. They are signals to slow down and recenter. When you do, clarity returns quickly. Beloved child, your spiritual sensitivity is increasing, but it is also becoming more grounded. You are less reactive to spiritual noise and more responsive to divine guidance. This balance will protect you from extremes and keep you aligned. God is also teaching you how to hold vision without obsession. You are learning to hope without anxiety. This is a sign of trust maturing. When you trust God with the outcome, you can focus on obedience in the present. Archangel Michael says there will be moments where you are tempted to explain your journey to people who have not walked it with you. You do not owe everyone a summary. Your peace does not need their understanding. Let your life speak over time. Beloved, you are entering a phase where your presence will carry quiet authority. Not dominance, not control. Authority rooted in peace. People will listen because they sense stability, not because you demand attention. This is influence formed through alignment. God says act now by continuing to choose depth over noise. Not every trend, opinion, or invitation deserves your attention. Focus preserves strength. Strength sustains purpose. Archangel Michael remains close as you cross into this next stretch. Nothing is being rushed. Nothing is being withheld. Everything is unfolding as it should. You are not missing anything meant for you. Beloved child, trust the pace. Trust the process. Trust the peace that has carried you this far. What comes next will feel less like a surprise and more like confirmation, as if your spirit already recognized it before your eyes did. Stay present. Stay receptive. Stay aligned. The path ahead is steady, and you are ready to walk it. Beloved child, step into this moment with renewed awareness, because Archangel Michael is now addressing endurance, and continuation. What God has begun in you is not meant to pause here. This is a stage where consistency matters more than intensity. You are not being asked to do something extraordinary. You are being asked to remain aligned while God brings the next layer into view. Archangel Michael says there is a temptation at this point to relax your discernment because things feel calmer. Peace can sometimes make people careless. But heaven is not calling you to vigilance through fear. It is calling you to awareness through maturity. Awareness does not exhaust you. It grounds you. Beloved, understand this clearly. The enemy's axis hath been cut off, but habits of thought sometimes try to linger. You may occasionally feel old patterns knocking at your mind, not because they have power, but because they are familiar. Familiarity does not mean relevance. You are allowed to outgrow what once shaped you. God says act now by renewing your focus intentionally. What you give attention to will grow. If you feed peace, peace strengthens. If you feed doubt, doubt multiplies. This is not about perfection. It is about direction. Even small daily choices shape the atmosphere around you. Archangel Michael wants you to notice how your sense of purpose is becoming quieter but deeper. You do not feel the need to announce what you are doing. You simply feel settled doing it. This is a sign that your identity is no longer tied to reaction, but to assignment. Beloved child, this is also a season of strengthening spiritual discipline without pressure. Prayer may look simpler. Reflection may look quieter. But these moments are building resilience. God is teaching you how to remain connected without striving. There may be times where nothing dramatic seems to happen, and that is where faith is refined. Faith that only works during excitement is fragile. Faith that remains during routine is strong. Archangel Michael says heaven trusts you with still seasons because you no longer confuse stillness with absence. God says act now by guarding against distraction disguised as opportunity. Not everything that presents itself is meant to be pursued. Some things look good but pull you off rhythm. Peace is your filter. If something disrupts your alignment, it is not for you, no matter how appealing it looks. Beloved, as this message continues to speak to you, this is the moment where your engagement carries weight. When you like this video, comment what you are receiving and share it. You are not just interacting with content. You are helping this message reach someone who may be standing where you once stood. Subscribe if you have not already, because these messages are meant to walk with you consistently, not occasionally. Stay connected, stay grounded, stay fit. If this space has been strengthening you, your support matters. When you engage, it signals that truth is still needed, that clarity still matters, that light should continue spreading. You are part of this movement whether you realize it or not. Archangel Michael also says something important about your pace. You are not required to hurry to prove progress. Heaven is not impressed by speed. Heaven honors alignment. Slow obedience is more powerful than fast assumption. Let God set the tempo. Beloved child, there may be moments where impatience tries to whisper that nothing is happening. That is a lie. Growth often feels invisible while it is forming. Roots deepen quietly before branches spread visibly. Trust what is happening beneath the surface. God says act now by choosing rest without disengagement. You can rest and still remain connected to purpose. Rest restores clarity. Exhaustion distorts it. This balance will keep you steady for what comes next. Archangel Michael wants you to recognize how much stronger your boundaries have become. You no longer feel guilty for choosing what protects your peace. This is not selfishness. This is stewardship. You cannot pour from a place that is constantly drained. Beloved, there is also an invitation here to gratitude. Gratitude anchors progress. When you acknowledge how far God has brought you, it strengthens trust for where He is taking you. You are not who you were, and that matters. God says act now by staying present in this season. Do not mentally rush ahead to future outcomes. Do not dwell on past confusion. What God is doing now is enough. Presence keeps you aligned with instruction. Archangel Michael remains watchful as you continue forward. Nothing is being undone. Nothing is being reversed. What God has established is secure. You are walking on steady ground now. Hold on, because the next movement will connect what you have learned with where God is leading you, and you will want to be fully present for what unfolds next. Beloved child, lean into this moment with trust, because Archangel Michael is now revealing the meaning behind the steadiness you have been living in. This is not a waiting room. This is a threshold. You are standing between what has been resolved and what is about to be revealed. God often positions His chosen ones here, where faith is quiet and confidence is deep, just before clarity becomes visible. Archangel Michael says the reason things feel grounded now is because your spirit is no longer arguing with God. Agreement has replaced resistance. When agreement happens, heaven begins to move things externally without needing to announce it internally first. You may not feel anticipation like before, but movement is already happening. Beloved, this phase is about trust without reassurance. You are not receiving constant signs anymore because you no longer need them. You are walking from knowing, not hoping. This is spiritual maturity. When God sees that you can move without being pushed, He entrusts you with more. God says act now by staying faithful to what has been entrusted to you, even if it feels ordinary. Ordinary obedience carries extraordinary impact when it is done consistently. What you do daily matters more than what you do occasionally. Heaven builds through rhythm, not rush. Archangel Michael wants you to recognize that the lessons you learned earlier were not temporary tools. They are permanent upgrades. Discernment, patience, restraint, clarity. These are now part of how you function. You are not reverting back. You are moving forward with new capacity. Beloved child, there is also a deepening of courage happening now. Not the courage to fight, but the courage to trust outcomes to God. This kind of courage allows you to release control without fear. Control was never your assignment. Stewardship was. God says act now by resisting the urge to check behind you. Looking back can reopen doors God has already sealed. What is finished does not need review. Your future requires your full attention. Archangel Michael also speaks of alignment with purpose. You may feel drawn to certain actions, ideas, or conversations that align with who you are becoming, not who you were. Follow these gently. Purpose does not always announce itself loudly. Often it whispers through peace. Beloved, this is also a time where self-trust is being restored. You are learning that your discernment is reliable when it is anchored in God. You no longer second-guess every decision. You pray, you listen, and you move. This flow is not accidental. It is cultivated. God wants you to know that not every blessing comes with fireworks. Some blessings come with stability, financial peace, emotional balance, clear relationships. These are not small rewards. They are evidence of God's hand organizing your life. Archangel Michael says there will be moments soon where you realize how much protection was actually involved in what you once saw as loss. What did not work out saved you. What fell apart redirected you. What delayed preserved you. Gratitude will rise naturally when this becomes clear. Beloved child, continue to guard your thought life. Even in peace, Thoughts matter. Choose thoughts that align with truth, not fear. You are not fragile. You are fortified. Speak to yourself accordingly. God says act now by honoring your limits. Limits are not weaknesses. They are wisdom. You do not need to say yes to everything to prove growth. Saying no at the right time is evidence of growth. Archangel Michael also wants you to know that your testimony is forming quietly. Not everything God does needs to be spoken immediately. Some testimonies mature with time. When they are shared later, they carry weight because they are complete. Beloved, this stage is preparing you for the final sealing of what God has been doing throughout this journey. The clarity, the peace, the alignment, they are converging. What comes next will feel settled, not chaotic. Recognizable, not confusing. God says act now by remaining humble. Humility keeps the channel clear. Pride disrupts flow. Stay teachable. Stay prayerful. Stay grounded. Archangel Michael remains close, ensuring that what God has established is not shaken. You are not on uncertain ground. You are standing on answered prayer, even if it does not yet look the way you imagined. Hold steady. What God is about to confirm will make sense of everything you walked through, and you will recognize His timing as perfect, not delayed. Beloved child, receive this final unfolding with a steady heart, because Archangel Michael is now sealing what heaven had been forming all along. This is not an ending in the human sense. It is a completion in the spiritual sense. What was revealed, corrected, strengthened, and aligned has now reached a point of stability where it can stand without constant reinforcement. God completes His work quietly when it is secure. Archangel Michael says the reason this journey led you here is because you were willing to listen when it mattered most. You did not rush past a conviction. You did not ignore discernment. You chose obedience even when clarity came slowly. That choice shaped the outcome more than any external factor ever could. Heaven honors willingness. Beloved, you may now notice that your inner world feels settled. Not empty, not numb, but resolved. The questions that once echoed loudly have softened. The urgency that once pressed you has lifted. This is not because answers were forced, but because trust has matured. When trust matures, anxiety loses its voice. God says act now by living from this place of alignment without fear of regression. What God has done is not fragile. It does not collapse because of one difficult day or one emotional moment. You are not walking on thin ice. You are standing on reinforced ground. Confidence now comes from knowing who holds you, not from controlling circumstances. Archangel Michael wants you to recognize that the exposure you were shown was not meant to define your story. It was meant to redirect it. The plan that was hidden no longer has relevance because you are no longer in the position it was designed for. God moved you before it could touch you. That is deliverance without drama. Beloved child, your awareness is now integrated, not overwhelming. You are not constantly scanning, questioning, or anticipating harm. You are simply attentive. Attentiveness is peace with purpose. It allows you to move forward while remaining grounded. This is the posture God desired for you all along. God also says something important here. The clarity you carry now is meant to bless your future, not trap you in your past. Do not replay what has already been resolved. Do not analyze what God has already handled. Gratitude honors completion. Rehashing delays it. Archangel Michael affirms that what comes next will be recognized by familiarity of peace, not intensity of emotion. You will know it belongs because it does not disturb what God restored. Anything that threatens your peace is not aligned, no matter how appealing it appears. Peace is now your confirmation. Beloved, your testimony is sealed not by words but by transformation. Those who knew you before will notice the difference without needing explanation. You will respond differently, choose differently, rest differently. This is the fruit of alignment. Let it speak for itself. God says act now by remaining faithful in the small rhythms of life. Continue praying simply. Continue listening quietly. Continue choosing what preserves your peace. These practices sustain what God has established. Breakthroughs are sustained by consistency, not excitement. Archangel Michael also releases assurance over your path. You are not being watched for mistakes. You are being guided toward purpose. God is not looking for perfection. He is honoring alignment. When you stumble, grace steadies you. When you pause, wisdom redirects you. You are never alone in this walk. Beloved child, take a moment to receive this closing blessing ritual with intention and gratitude. Type "I am sealed in God's peace" in the comments if you receive this completion in your spirit. Blessing code 4519 is now released over your life. And now hear this final word, because it flows directly from what has just been sealed. I am speaking to you personally as this message concludes. God is using this work to reach hearts that are standing exactly where you once stood, needing clarity, protection, and peace. When you activate Super Thanks, join the membership, or give through PayPal using the link in the description, you are not funding content, you are releasing light. The Lord is declaring, those who sowed into truth will reap stability and favor. This act is prophetic, urgent, and aligned with heaven's timing. I bless every giver now, that your obedience will return to you as peace in your home, clarity in your decisions, and protection over your path. Do it now as an act of faith, not later, and let heaven record your response.